The first time it happened, it felt like the air itself had cracked open. One quiet afternoon in a small coastal town in South Carolina, I was standing in the hallway of a house that no longer felt like mine, when my ex's mother leaned close, her voice barely there, and asked me to take her somewhere private. Not out of desire, not out of secrecy born from guilt, but out of desperation so raw it froze me in place. In that moment my heart pounded with confusion, fear, and a strange sense that whatever came next would change the course of my life forever. Before the story unfolds any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet moments where compassion matters more than pride, please take a second to like this video, share it with someone who believes in humanity, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps stories like this alive. My name is Michael Carter, and I never imagined that after my breakup with Rachel Thompson, the most important connection I would have left with, that family, would be her mother, Margaret Thompson. Rachel and I had loved each other once in that careless, hopeful way people do in their 20s. We met in Savannah, Georgia, dreamed big dreams, and promised forever without understanding what forever really cost. When we broke up, it wasn't dramatic. It was quiet, heavy, and final. She moved on and I tried to do the same, telling myself that chapter was closed. But life doesn't always respect the chapters we think we've finished. Margaret had always been kind to me in a gentle, church-on-Sunday way. She was the sort of woman who baked too much bread for neighbors and volunteered at shelters without telling anyone. After the breakup, I still helped her occasionally, fixing a fence or carrying groceries when I visited town. It felt harmless, even comforting, like holding on to a piece of familiarity in a world that had moved on too fast. That afternoon, sunlight spilled through lace curtains, dust floating in the air like tiny memories refusing to settle. Margaret looked smaller than I remembered, her shoulders slumped, her hands trembling as she folded laundry that didn't need folding. Something in her eyes told me this wasn't about old family ties or awkward courtesy. It was about survival. When she asked to go somewhere private, I felt a knot tighten in my chest. Every instinct told me to be careful, but something deeper told me not to walk away. I took her to my car, and we drove without speaking to a quiet park near the river, the kind of place people went to think or cry without being seen. I sat with her on a bench beneath tall oak trees, Spanish moss hanging like curtains. There, away from walls and expectations, she finally broke. Her life, it turned out, was unraveling. Her husband, Thomas Thompson, had passed away a year earlier, and the silence in the house had grown unbearable. Rachel had moved across the country, rarely calling. Bills were piling up, her health was failing, and the weight of loneliness pressed on her every night until she couldn't breathe. I listened, not as an ex-boyfriend or a stranger, but as a human being witnessing another human's pain. The challenge wasn't fixing her problems. It was staying present without crossing lines, without letting emotion turn into something harmful. I struggled with my own confusion, my own guilt, wondering if helping her would reopen wounds or create new ones. But as the days passed, something began to shift. We met in public places, talked about grief, faith, and the strange ways life tests us when we think we're strongest. I helped her sort paperwork, drove her to doctor's appointments, and sat with her in church pews where the hymns sounded heavier than before. There was no romance, no hidden scandal, just two people clinging to decency in a world that often rewards selfishness. Through her, I learned that love doesn't always look like passion. Sometimes it looks like patience, like sitting quietly while someone remembers who they used to be. As weeks turned into months, Margaret found her footing again. She joined a support group, reconnected with old friends, and even started volunteering at a local food pantry in Charleston, South Carolina. Watching her rediscover purpose was like witnessing spring after a long winter. For me, it was healing too. Helping her helped me forgive Rachel without bitterness and let go of the hurt I'd carried quietly for too long. Near the end of this journey, there was a moment that nearly broke me. Margaret stood stronger now, her eyes clearer, and thanked me not for fixing her life, but for not running when things got uncomfortable. That was when I realized the real lesson wasn't about boundaries or misunderstandings. It was about showing up when kindness asks something of you, even when it's complicated. If this story is touching your heart right now, please pause for a moment and engage with this video. Like it, share it, and let us know you're here. Stories like this only matter when they reach people who feel them. Just before the ending, I want to ask you something special. Please comment below with one word that represents kindness to you. Your words might be exactly what someone else needs to read today. Today, Margaret lives independently, surrounded by community instead of silence. Rachel and I never reunited, but we found peace in our separate paths. As for me, I learned that doing the right thing doesn't always look heroic or dramatic. Sometimes it's quiet, uncomfortable, and unseen. But those moments shape us more than any grand romance ever could. And every time I walk past that river park, I'm reminded that compassion, when offered freely and respectfully,